The Imperial Convergence hull glittered beneath the pale blue glow of its twin suns, their light spilling through ceilings made of liquid crystal. 2 flawless rows of armored soldiers lined the grand chamber, motionless, disciplined, shaped by centuries of conquest. Every breath seemed rehearsed. Beyond them, perched on crescent thrones, delegates from 100 star systems observed with polite predatory silence. Today was no ordinary gathering. Today, the Empire expected to witness obedience. The massive entrance doors slid open with a hiss. A lone human walked in. Ambassador Elias Ward, creased suit, crooked tie, a scuff lighter dancing between 2 fingers, looked like someone who had wandered in from an old Earth courtroom rather than into a room full of cosmic overlords. His posture was relaxed, almost bored, as if this monumental moment were merely another tiresome meeting. Representative of Earth, boomed the herald, a figure composed entirely of shimmering violet haze. You stand before Archlord Zelthor, the voice of our dominion. Present your declaration of surrender. Elias lifted a hand in a casual wave. Afternoon. Great interior design you folks have here. Bit chilly, though. Ever try insulation? The hall rippled with confusion. Translators blinked. Attendants stiffened. Someone choked on their own tentacles. Zelthor leaned forward on his throne, golden scales catching the light like shards of a dying star. His forked tongue flicked as if tasting disrespect in the air. Human, he rumbled. Have you arrived to beg or to bargain? Neither, Elias said, pulling a dented thermos from his pocket. Came for the coffee, mostly. He poured himself a steaming cup. The aroma, earth-roasted, rich, bold, filled the chamber like a declaration. A few guards shifted uneasily. One scholar, a slender insectoid named Valen, tilted her head. A stimulant, she asked. Is this ritualistic dependence? More like productivity fuel, Elias said. Also pairs well with diplomacy. Zelthor's tail scraped against the marble. Your world evolved nuclear fire before joining the stars. Your species reproduces recklessly. Your wars lack all logic. You are chaos wrapped in fragile flesh. Chaos with personality, Elias corrected, sipping, and a great sense of humor. You misunderstand, Zelthor snarled. This meeting is not negotiable. You will submit. Elias crouched to set his cup on the polished floor. His reflection stared back, one unarmed man in a horde of titans. You want Earth domesticated, he said. Tagged, tamed, filed neatly in your empire's archives. Yes, Zelthor said proudly. Elias flicked open his lighter and sparked a flame. The aliens recoiled instinctively. Fire, to them, was destruction, not comfort. Elias slipped a thin paper cylinder between his lips. Identify that, Valen whispered. Fascinated. A cigarette, Elias said quietly. Old human habit. Helped me think. Smoke curled upward, drifting through the sterile air like insolence made visible. You mock us, the Archlord growled. Elias shrugged. Mockery's free. Thought you'd appreciate the savings. The whole tightened. A stillness deeper than silence filled the chamber, an unspoken threat waiting to close its fist. Sign the treaty, Zelthor thundered. Now! Elias stood, dusting imaginary dirt off his sleeves. Sorry, I've got a lunch meeting later. Bad idea to make big decisions hungry. Tanks the digestion. The alien delegates exchanged glances. His tone was too calm for surrender, too light for fear. Valen studied him. Is this human submission ritual? No, whispered another envoy. It is something worse. Elias paused at the doorway, turning back once. The smoke trailed behind him like a veil of rebellion. You know, he said softly, we've got an old Earth saying, you can win more allies with kindness than force. But sometimes. He flicked his cigarette onto the Empire's crest, leaving a tiny burning scar. Force needs a reminder it's not the only game in town. Shock jolted through the hall. Elias simply smirked and walked out. 3 days after Elias Ward's not quite surrender, the Empire returned to Earth, but not with parades or broadcasts. Their warships simply materialized above the planet like a sudden eclipse of metal and arrogance. Thousands of citizens looked up to see constellations swallowed whole. Elias stood inside what used to be a Starbucks, now repurposed as a temporary diplomatic office. Steam curled from his mug as he stared out the window. Above Washington, a massive crescent-shaped flagship hovered, casting a serpentine shadow across the Atlantic. His reflection overlapped with a giant vessel, a man facing a colossus. "They brought the crown ship," Elias murmured. "Bit dramatic. Could have just sent a memo." Behind him, Lieutenant Marasalis, young, sharp, anxious, clutched the tablet so tightly it nearly bent. "Sir, the Empire has issued a planetary transmission." Her voice trembled. "They're announcing, well, they think they've already won." Elias raised an eyebrow. Confidence is adorable in tyrants. On the screen, Archlord Zelthor appeared, his reptilian features sharpened by a triumphant grin. "The humans have agreed to our terms. Their representative arrives today to finalize compliance." Elias snorted. "Great. They are writing our obituary before we're even late to the meeting." He set down his mug. "Pack your things. We've got a date with Delusion." Vorna Prime, capital of the Empire. The human shuttle cut through shimmering artificial sunlight as it descended toward gleaming towers and floating cities. Vorna Prime always felt too perfect, too symmetrical, as if chaos had been surgically removed. Elias stepped off the ramp with the relaxed gait of someone walking into a dinner party rather than the heart of an empire expecting his surrender. Cameras hovered around him, recording his expressions to be analyzed by billions. He offered them all the same lazy half-smile. Zelthor waited at the base of a metallic walkway, flanked by advisors carved in stone and pride. "Ambassador Ward," he greeted, his voice silk-coated steel. "Your punctuality honors us. We welcome your compliance." Elias bowed slightly. "Well, we try to be considerate guests. You've been looming over our planet for almost a week. Didn't want you to get bored." A ripple of murmurs swept through the alien attendees. Valen, the insectoid scholar, clicked her mandibles softly. "Human irony," she observed aloud. "I studied this phenomenon. It often disguises aggression." "Sharp as ever," Elias said with a wink. They escorted him into the Hall of Assimilation, a structure intentionally designed to intimidate. Its vaulted ceiling resembled claws reaching down to snatch individuality from all who entered. Pulsing veins ran through the walls, as though the building itself was alive and mildly irritated. Elias walked through it like a man visiting a tourist attraction he had mixed reviews about. The negotiation chamber. 10 alien dignitaries sat around a massive obsidian table veined with glowing circuitry. At the far end, the Emperor's hologram materialized, radiant, towering, voice echoing through the chamber like a cosmic storm. "Humanity will integrate," the Emperor declared. "Your world will be assigned purpose. Order ensures survival." Elias took a seat with deliberate ease. "A gym membership we can't cancel," he mused. "Charming." Only one being chuckled. Siri, the gelatinous diplomat who seemed permanently uncertain about whether humor was safe. The Emperor dimmed slightly, as though displeasure affected its photons. "You mistake benevolence for frailty." "Oh no," Elias said, leaning forward. "Weakness is loudly advertised as benevolence. Big difference." The alien stiffened. Zelthor slammed his tail against the floor. "You people run on emotion, primitive, unstable. We operate on reason. Your resistance is pointless." Elias opened his briefcase and removed the treaty. Its corner was charred, the mark of his earlier cigarette. "Lovely document," he said. "Bit wordy. Got lost around the part about biological reallocation. Fancy phrase for slavery." Several dignitaries shifted uncomfortably. Valen asked softly, "If your species hates constraint, why come here at all?" Elias gave her a warm smile. "Courtesy. Refusing your invitation remotely might have seemed rude, and we humans like to be polite right up until we aren't." The Emperor leaned closer. "Your planet is insignificant. Your army's smaller still. Yet you sit here as if equal." "Equal?" Elias chuckled. "No. Try unpredictable." He flicked his lighter, the small flame reflecting in his pupils. Zelthor watched it like prey watches a predator. "All this fire. All these jokes." The Archlord growled. "Do you truly believe your species can defy inevitability?" Elias exhaled smoke directly through the Emperor's hologram. We don't defy inevitability. We rewrite it. Silence swallowed the room. Far outside the Empire's sensors, something vast shifted. Earth's fleet's awakening, cloaked, invisible, waiting for a single word from Elias. And that word was coming. The galactic palace burned with a brilliance meant to intimidate. Towers of mirrored alloy rose into the violet sky, glowing like obsidian spears dipped in sunlight. Inside its largest reception hall, the Empire prepared a celebration disguised as diplomacy. Servitor drones glided overhead with trays of shimmering wine, their movements elegant enough to pass as choreography. Broadcast orbs hovered near the ceiling, ready to stream the grand spectacle to billions across the star lanes. But the man at the center of it all, Ambassador Elias Ward, looked like he'd wandered into the wrong party. Sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, hair slightly wind-tossed, Elias stood beside a table of alien delicacies he had no intention of touching. He swirled a glass of color-shifting champagne, observing the room not with admiration but with a quiet attentiveness of someone taking inventory of vulnerabilities rather than beauty. Lieutenant Mara Chen, his aide, shifted beside him, trying to look composed. "They think you're about to sign their masterpiece," she whispered. "Oh, I know," Elias replied. "They've been rehearsing this victory parade since long before we arrived." Her eyes scanned the hall. Dignitaries from every imperial caste had gathered, each one draped in ceremonial armor or glowing silks. Zelthor, towering and resplendent in regalia, stood near the Emperor's colossal holography dais, telling his fellow elites how quickly Earth would collapse once the treaty was sealed. Elias watched the Archlord quietly, his expression unreadable. "You're enjoying this?" Mara murmured. "Not enjoying," he corrected. "Appreciating the irony. They think this ceremony is the end of something. Really, it's a middle." The orchestra of shimmering wind harps began a haunting melody. Lights dimmed into a twilight glow. At the center of the hall, the signing pedestal, an obsidian slab pulsing with faint blue circuitry, waited like a silent executioner. The Emperor's hologram materialized above it, an immense figure of living light, storms crackling within its silhouette. Its voice echoed like thunder against cathedral walls. "Human envoy, the era of resistance ends tonight. You will sign, and your species will prosper under our structure." Elias offered a modest smile. Prosper is one of those flexible words, isn't it? He stepped toward the pedestal. Cameras zoomed in. Silence spread. But instead of signing, he casually raised a finger. "Before we finalize anything," he said, "humans have a custom. We share a meal." A ripple of annoyance washed through the hall. Zelthor's scales tightened. "This is not a banquet," he hissed. "Oh, everything can be a banquet," Elias replied lightly. "It just depends how hungry everyone is." After a brief hesitation, even a hologram can express discomfort, the Emperor granted permission. Elias snapped his fingers. Human attendants entered carrying several compact metal cases. When opened, each released a gentle hiss along with a savory fragrance of roasted earth dishes, garlic seasoned meats, buttery vegetables, warm breads. Alien reactions ranged from disgust to hesitant fascination. "What is this?" Valen asked, her mandibles quivering. "Comfort food," Elias said. "You'll understand once you try it." Despite themselves, the dignitaries tasted the offerings. Some gagged, others hummed with unexpected delight. Even Zelthor struggled to hide the fact that the garlic-infused roast had stunned his palate. Elias glided through the room like an attentive host, topping glasses, offering commentary, telling short, disarming stories about Earth. Broadcast drones captured laughter spreading across the hall, laughter the Empire assumed was proof of human harmlessness. But beneath the tablecloths, beneath the floor, beneath a perception, something else was unfolding. Each plate and serving tool quietly activated microscopic transmission nodes. The Humalay's banter disguised soft vibrations as they linked to the pedestal's internal systems. Elias's lighter, resting near his glass, pulsed a faint rhythm like a heartbeat syncing with the palace's neural grid. Mara leaned in. "The link is almost complete." "Patience," Elias murmured. "Good plans don't rush. They breathe." At last, the Emperor's hologram surged with impatience. "Enough indulgence. Sign the treaty." Elias nodded, strolling to the pedestal with calm precision. The room held its breath. He raised a stylus. Cameras zoomed close enough to see the reflection in his eyes. And then, casually, almost conversationally, he said, "One question before I sign. Entirely procedural." Zelthor snarled. "Humans and their endless questions." "Humor me," Elias said. "When you annex a world, do you broadcast a treaty across your entire empire?" "Yes," the Emperor declared proudly. "United knowledge strengthens dominion." Elias smiled. "Perfect." Because at that exact moment, every hidden transmitter in the whole pulsed awake, unlocking a backdoor into the Empire's broadcast core. And what Elias was about to upload would change the galaxy forever. Voron Prime burned. The once perfect city of glass and silver lay fractured under a storm of failing weather systems. Towers slumped like dying giants. Sparks crackled from shattered conduits. The sky pulsed with lightning that had lost its rhythm. Elias Ward walked through the ruins with slow, steady steps. His suit was torn. His hair was dusted with ash. But he moved like a man strolling through memories rather than destruction. Rhea followed, rifle slung across her shoulder, scanning the smoke-filled shadows. "The Empire's neural grid is completely gone," she reported quietly. "No long-range comms. No synchronized defense. They're isolated." Elias stopped at the remnants of the treaty pedestal, now melted into a pool of black glass. A faint print of his hand remained scorched into the floor. "Archaeologists will argue about that for centuries," he murmured. Rhea exhaled. "They'll call it sacrilege." "They call everything sacrilege," Elias said calmly. "It's their hobby." Across the square, a lone figure approached through drifting smoke. Valen, the scholar. Her carapace was cracked, her eyes dim but alert. She bowed weakly. "Ambassador Ward, you have broken the Empire." "No," Elias said softly. "War breaks itself. We just nudged it." Valen's antennae lowered. "They will never forget this humiliation. You taught them fear." "Fear's a good teacher," Elias said. "Depends on who listens." She hesitated, voice trembling. "You could have conquered us, claimed this world, ruled what remains. Why didn't you?" Elias smiled faintly. "Empires build thrones. Humans build stories. Stories last longer." They walked through the ruins. Civilians peered cautiously from doorways. Families, workers, frightened survivors. None attacked. None begged. They simply watched. Rhea whispered, "Earth is going to call this a victory." "It's not victory," Elias said. "It's prevention. And prevention never gets a parade." Human dropships descended through the smoke. Gentle, controlled, not invading but extracting. A holographic call from General Arcton flickered to life on Rhea's wrist. "Ambassador Ward, congratulations. The Empire is neutralized. Their networks are permanently disrupted. Report immediately." Elias lifted the device. "Tell them Earth is safe. Tell them we never fired first. And tell them we don't intend to rule anyone." The general nodded. Extraction approved. When the hologram faded, Valen stepped closer. "You think you can walk away after reshaping our future?" Elias paused. "We didn't come to rule you, Valen. We came to make sure nobody else ever rules Earth, or you, by force." "And peace," she whispered. He looked around at the civilians emerging from the mist, at the broken city still standing against all odds. "Peace is what you rebuild after someone tries to take it." She bowed, not in submission, but respect. "Ambassador, you are not what we imagine humans to be." Elias chuckled. "We rarely are." As they headed for the shuttle, Valen asked one last question. "The cigarette, you carried fire into a hole of light. Why?" Elias lit one. "Habit," he said, "but symbols matter. Sometimes a tiny flame says what 1,000 speeches can't." The city's artificial dawn flickered uncertainly, painting the ruins gold. Elias's cigarette ember burned brighter for a moment, then vanished into the wind. "Engines ready," Rhea called from the ramp. "Then we're done here," Elias said. As the shuttle lifted, the ground below rumbled softly, not an explosion, but the sound of a civilization shifting under weight of a new era. Rhea looked back nervously. Do you think they'll come after us someday? Elias didn't answer immediately. He watched the stars appear, endless, waiting, patient. Maybe, he said at last. But next time, they'll know to smile first. Unseen by both of them, deep in the void, fragments of the Empire's broken network flickered back to life, repeating a message broadcast in the Emperor's old voice. We accept the war. Far beyond the smoke of Voron Prime, the human shuttle glided toward home. The stars stretched like ribbons as the ship accelerated, carrying the ambassador and his aide toward the quiet blue dot in the distance. Elias Ward reclined in his seat, exhausted but calm. Rhea watched him silently, as if studying a stranger she thought she knew. You ended an empire, she muttered, without launching a single missile. Elias shook his head. Empires end themselves. We just gave them a philosophical shove. She stared out at the void. What if history blames us? History always blames someone, Elias said. Might as well be the people who laugh last. The ship hummed around them. Screens showed star charts full of blinking anomalies, the Empire's crippled network coughing out distorted symbols. Entire sectors flickered with stray echoes of Earth humor. One cluster repeated the same human phrase in broken binary. We hear you. Earth grew large on the displays, a fragile globe, blue and stubborn. Rhea sighed. So what happens now? Elias exhaled slowly. Now the galaxy learned something important. Polite doesn't mean harmless. The ship descended through Earth's upper atmosphere. News feeds flooded with confusion. Alien fleets drifting powerless. Imperial communications collapsing. A treaty signing that had ignited a system-wide meltdown. Earth's leaders waited on the landing pad. Presidents, generals, diplomats, ready to demand explanations or offer medals, depending on which rumor they believed. Rhea glanced nervously as the landing gear deployed. They looked concerned. They should be, Elias said. We just introduced irony to a military AI network the size of 50 galaxies. The universe might never recover. When the hatch opened, a wave of cool wind swept inside. Elias stepped onto the tarmac, blinking under Earth's real sunlight. Not artificial, not engineered, but the good old star that burned imperfectly yet faithfully. General Arcton approached him. Ambassador Ward, he said stiffly, the Council demands a full report. What exactly did you do out there? Elias considered his reply, then spoke plainly. We gave them a mirror. They broke themselves trying to look into it. You destabilized the greatest empire known to the stars, Arcton growled. No, Elias said. I destabilized their certainty. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Soldiers stood tense. Rhea stepped beside him, whispering, Sir, the Empire's relays, they're reforming fragments, like they are trying to send one final message. Elias smirked. Good. Let them talk. It means they are still learning. He walked past the council, past the reporters, toward the overlooking balcony. Below him, the city pulsed with life, imperfect, chaotic, human. A voice came through Rhea's communicator. Ambassador, the Empire's last transmission has stabilized. Elias didn't turn. What does it say? Rhea swallowed. It says, we accept the war. The world around him seemed to fall silent. Elias finally looked up at the sky, vast, endless, holding secrets no empire could catalogue. Well, he murmured, that's their choice. Ours was to walk away. Rhea stared at him. You're not afraid. He smiled faintly. Of an empire that lost the roast beef in sarcasm? No. He flicked his lighter open, letting the flame dance for a moment before snapping it shut. I'm afraid of something else, he said. Rhea frowned. What? That someday, Elias replied, humanity might forget how dangerous a smile can be. Wind swept across the balcony, carrying the faint sound of distant cheers and distant worries. Elias Ward looked out at his world, the small planet that had just rattled a galaxy, and whispered, Let them come. We have more jokes. Deep in the void, beyond any star chart, fragments of the Empire's broken systems pulsed rhythmically, as if something ancient was stirring, listening, preparing. And for the first time in a long age, the galaxies smiled back.